proposal, what happens to the AmeriCorps program that feeds seniors and gives jobs to dozens of young people in the city? If we rescind the amendments were done to fund the AmeriCorps program. So, number one, what happens with the AmeriCorps? Number two, I think it's a fundamentally dishonest presentation to make to the public to say that the clerk's office has not gone through a restructuring. It fundamentally did 2 years ago, and so to say it's not been restructured is just not true. Number three, I want to direct the public's attention to item number 9 on the agenda. Item number 9 is a resolution for the city of Jackson to borrow $16 million. If we do not pass this resolution, the city of Jackson isn't going to be able to make payroll in a month. It is fundamentally, we're getting a payday loan saying, we'll get some tax income in March, let us borrow some money now so we aren't insolvent in a month. That's the depth of our financial crisis at the moment. So, as much as it pains us to have to deal with cuts like this, as much as it pains us to have to say to people, I'm sorry, we can't have 2 golf courses. We can only have 1 golf course. We can't have as much funding for the arts as we'd like to have. We have we can't do, former Councilman Brown discussed, well, don't buy any vehicles. We haven't bought vehicles. This will be the 2nd year in a row of not buying vehicles. You know, I think it really stood out when someone said, oh, this is just 0.1% of our budget. That is how dire the city of Jackson's financial crisis is, that every last dollar must be accounted for, and every last dollar spent one place is a dollar we don't have somewhere else. So, look, I think there's willingness on the part of this council to revisit everything. That, you know, part of what we are going to do is this budget isn't a final dollar amount, that we are going to have to, you know, clearly revisit some of this stuff. But what we can't do is pretend that we have the money we used to have. We can't be like those parents who, instead of telling people, I'm sorry, son, I can't afford this, we pretend we can afford this, we go out and get a payday loan, and we run ourselves further into the ground. And I refuse to let this city become the next Detroit. And when we start doing stuff we've never done before, like go get a payday loan, that's the path to becoming Detroit. So yeah, I don't like the fact that we are cutting things that are near and dear to us. The golf course is near and dear to us. I'm having my rehearsal dinner at the Art Center when I get married in 3 weeks. Do you think I want to see that program lose funding? But we have to be adults in this room and be honest with the people of Jackson and say, if we don't make significant budget cuts, and not only cuts, Mr. Stamps, if we don't take the time to fundamentally restructure programs, and instead of saying, okay, I'm just going to give you this pile of money, just keep on spending it. And when you show up next year and we see that the money hasn't been effectively spent, and we see where you were budgeted to get $190,000, but you only brought in $40,000, we have got to have change. And so what I'm willing to say right now is, yes, we will consider everything. We will try to find ways to make Grove Park safe, try and find ways to save the Greater Jackson Arts Council, but what we won't do and what we can't do is spend money we don't have. And in light of item number 9, where we've got to borrow $16 million so we don't have an inability to make payroll in November, we can't just, move some money here, move some money there. So before we move money, we need to see real change in operations and real plans where the community gets given a chance to take over some of these programs. That since 2014, we spent $1.2 million at our 2 public golf courses. Does it look like we spent $1.2 million over there? No. And we wonder why we can't get people to play at our golf courses. We've got to stop the madness and have some real plans in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Priest. Councilman Flip.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody who came out today for this record turnout in the City Hall chambers and for their show of support. And it certainly made a big impression on myself, and I'm confident on the rest of the council members as well. I'm a big fan of golf myself. I try to play once a week, so it's really encouraging to see so many other people out here who are fans of golf and fans of the Grove Park course in particular. Certainly is a different picture than the one if you look at the numbers that are presented to us in the budget. When the receipts for Grove Park, according to the budget book we received for the 10.5 months from 1 October of 15 through the middle of August 2016, the receipts for green fees were $8,779. The receipts for cart rentals were around $7,500. That's a big mismatch from all the people who came in here and said they like to play Grove Park and they like to play it every day. There's a big problem between what the city is collecting for green fees and cart rentals and what we see this parade of people that came in that showed there's tremendous demand for Grove Park. That's the good news. The best news is there's lots of demand by loyal people who want to support Grove Park. What I would suggest is that we have the wrong business model right now at Grove Park. We need to figure out a different way to run Grove Park than the way it's running right now. If you look at the two golf courses together, and while I know it's just a numbers exercise, the fact is the city runs on numbers. That's just the way it has to be. And right now, through the middle of August, the city had lost or spent $329,000 operating the golf courses. That's after the revenue that came in from green fees. We were supposed to have green fees and cart rentals of $190,000 for the year, and through the middle of August, we'd received $41,000, 21% of what we expected to receive for the full year. So we've got to reinvent Grove Park in a way that's both friendly for Jackson's finances and it's friendly for the people who want to play golf at Grove Park. Maybe the best way is through some sort of nonprofit that's set up, where it operates Grove Park and the city can lease the property to the nonprofit for $1 a year. And y'all figure out how to run it and make it so that everybody gets to play and the kids get to play and Dr. Peoples gets to play at his heart's content. I'm all for that. We just got to find a solution that works for everybody so that we don't end up having to give up other essential services that the citizens need. Thank you.
Councilman Stolzman, Councilman Flip.
Thank you, Mr. President. I told Councilman Foote when I was leaving out, see what you started. Now, when you look at Grove Park and the history and everything else, let's look at Palm Bridges. Why are you not closing Palm Bridges? Play tennis, they can go to Lake Hocko and play tennis. That would be integration. But you close inner city where people don't have transportation and everything else. Now, Mr. Mayor, you can sit there quietly or you can speak up because they're telling people that this item you have on the agenda is to get us through this budget. This is something that's done all the time. Normally, your tax money don't start coming in until January, February. Some people pay it in December. So what they have done, and Councilmember Barry been here, we've seen this before. This is nothing new. Sometimes they go meet with the bank. They used to go meet with Trustmark and let Trustmark give them some money to get them through October, November, December. Because when the money come in, you paying it back. That's not anything that we creating in this city. It's in bad shape. This city going to spend somewhere around $300 to $400 million this year. It spent it last year. This city is not going from $100-some million to $40 or $50 million. This city is not broke. You paying taxes. Every car tag you got, every car, you paying taxes on that car tag. Every time you go to the grocery store, that's sales tax. That's coming to this city. Now, what we can do, and you can sit here and let it happen on Grove Park, then how long before they're going to say, let's close Jackson State? Let's close Alcorn. They don't need these black universities like they don't need Grove Park. We're going to have one golf course. But look out there on Lakeland Drive at those baseball facilities. Why they ain't closing them? And them.
We don't own them.
We cutting them. We must own them. We own Smith Wheels. Oh, we don't own Smith Wheels neither, right? I've been there long enough to know what we own and what we don't own. And I've seen this process over and over again. But to come out here and cut these areas when you can stop some of these contracts, Napa. Why we need a contract with Napa? You didn't have that 5-10 years ago. Cut the Napa contract. Why you got to have a contract with bus companies when you can sit here and fix these buses and run these bus companies in-house? A lot of these contracts, these millions that we're spending on contracts, is money that we can save. You don't have to try to balance your budget on the backs of poor people, and that's what you're doing. These poor people. And the only one that's getting hurt is poor people. That's wrong. If there was equality on this, let's go into Ward 1. Cut that fire station out there on Ridgewood Road. Let them come from the other area of town. But they can sit up here and say everything good. Councilman Priester got 2 parks on Flag Chapel. 2 parks. Why not cut one of those parks? Why are you cutting Grove Park? Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President. Who's next? And then you.
So let's steer this down to reality. We receive over $2 million in millage appropriation for parks. So when people stand up here and say they're not making money, they're not designed to make money. It's a park. Battlefield don't make money, but we cut the grass. The gap in I do want to say this, it can be run better. It needs to be run better and more accountability. It needs to be all electronic, where you come in and swipe your card, so I know exactly how much money that came through that operation, and I know exactly how many people signed in and who bought what. So you can't lose any money. I'd rather lose 2.5% to the credit card processors than another percent by dealing with all cash. So I do believe that the revenue could be ramped up if we got rid of the cash and you use your card when you went through there. And so we would know. But we receive over $2 million in millage appropriation for parks. So when they sit up here and say that, we spent this on the park and we only got this, that millage pays that other piece. So when they say they only brought in $60,000 or $40,000 and we spent $300,000, well, that other piece comes from that millage to pay for that already. So my question about closing a park is, you getting money, we get money already to cover the difference in what's brought in and what's expended out. And if you're going to cut the grass anyway, you might as well cut it. And people say, well, I don't see $1 million being put in the parks. Well, it's over 130 acres between both of the parks. If you had to cut 130 acres of grass every week for 2 years, you might spend $1 million. Especially if you spend $50 cutting your yard at your house, which is a quarter of an acre. If you had 140-some acres of grass to cut every week in a manicured way, now it could be cut a little bit better, because when I see those golfers come in with them wrist things on, that means that they fighting real hard out there trying to swing their clubs. So it could be manicured a little better, but you got to talk in reality and with real numbers. It's over hundreds of acres of grass that has to be cut. And if you had to cut it every week or even every 2 weeks, you would spend $1 million doing it in 2 years. Thank you, Mr. President.
So thank you. Mayor, then Councilman Priester.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilman Stokes, thank you for inviting me back to the mic. I didn't say anything, and you're right, because I'm of the mindset that excuses are just like elbows. Everybody got one. And I don't think these people came down here to hear a lot of back and forth and excuses. But we are doing a tax anticipation note. we're doing it for several different reasons. What's